play a lot of matches under lights now. So we didn't really get an opportunity to play under lights before we head into the World Cup. So those are the small things which, if we can get that, nothing like it. But that's one change, the small change I would love to.
That period, I think we did get a lot more international series, but still the financial aspect was, wasn't that great.
Many have asked me whether being the first century maker for India or being the first captain, first Arjuna, is that your main? No, I said no. The fact that we laid foundation for the game.
So we have 3 generations of wonderful women cricketers. Shantha Rangaswamy is the pioneer, literally the Moses who parted the seas and roused the troops and formed a team and led India for the first time. Always speaks her mind, be it on the ground or be it, earlier days when she was running an academy in, I think, St. John's. A long time back, I used to meet her there. Mithali, tons of runs, probably on par with Tendulkar. If you want an example in terms of stature, in terms of runs, in terms of impact on the game, quite accumulator. And a lot of you would remember the fact that she also has a very cool head. Remember the picture of her reading a book during a match? I think it went viral. And Shreyanka, I think there's this joke about Isala Cup Namade when it comes to the men's RCB team. But it's the women's RCB team that won the WPL in 2024. And Shreyanka was the lead architect. She's a stalwart for RCB, still young in the India shade, but this is a wonderful group to have. I'll first start with Shantha. Shantha, when you started in the 1970s, forming a team, there must have been quite a bit of difficulties. I remember in an interview you said, forget the difficulties, it was just a passion for the game that pushed you ahead. And her contemporaries were Erapalli, in the male counterparts were Erapalli Prasanna and Bhagwat Chandrasekhar and Syed Kirmani and legends of the game. And she's another legend from Bangalore. How difficult or how easy was it back then?
Nothing is difficult if you aim. I always believe not failure is crime, but low aim is crime. So, we wanted to ensure the longevity of the game. I've said this often, but would like to repeat it. Many have asked me whether being the first century maker for India or being the first captain, first Arjuna, is that your main? No, I said no. The fact that we laid foundation for the game on which the superstructure has been built. There would not have been Mithali's and Shreyankas if we had faltered in the initial stages. Because we held our ground, we managed to. There were other women's sports which started in the early 70s along with us, but they've all disappeared. It's because we, the pioneers, we held our own. Even if we didn't win many, we didn't lose many. There were quite a few draws. So, yeah, there were a lot of comments and things like that, but then we just ignored. As you already mentioned it, one force that really drove us was passion for the game. And I think, looking back, I can say we have done a good job.
Excellent. So Mithali, you were building on the platform that Shanta built, Diana Idilji built, and then you had more than a 2-decade career, right? Piling on the runs, leading India. And at one point, it was you and Julan Goswami, guiding the team forever before the young crop came in. How was that middle phase between Shantha and Shreyanka? When you were the bulwark for the team.
I think probably I got to bridge that era with, the coming generation, because as she rightly said, they were the ones who set the foundation, and we were able to build on it. Having said that, it was still very difficult. We were under WCI. Shantha was the selector then when I got captaincy. Shubhangi was, the secretary of WCI. So that period, I think we did get a lot more international series, but still the financial aspect was, wasn't that great. they did struggle to get investors and endorsements for us to have a series, an international series. Sometimes we would go without an international series a year or two. So coming under BCCI, I think that was a huge thing for all of us, because that has opened access to infrastructure, resources, better equipments, and the domestic structure, getting to play in the stadiums. Otherwise, I'm sure we were also, Shanta's era has, she's a better person to tell, whether they've got to play in the stadiums, but we've played a few games in the smaller grounds. But, the joy of playing in international stadium and the history that every stadium has in our country, to get to play domestic games there, we were slowly getting into that, and coming under BCCI's umbrella definitely has had its huge impact on women cricketers. We were able to extend our careers because of that. Otherwise, there are many cricketers who would probably discontinue after a few years because it wasn't a viable sport. And it took time even for BCCI, the support that they were giving, to translate on the ground. But, slowly things have definitely changed with contract system coming in and with WPL as well. I think now women's cricket is in full force. Yeah.
Just to lead on from that question, you spoke about infrastructure and issues regarding infrastructure earlier. I distinctly remember there were a phase when you used to come to Bangalore to train, and you used to probably have more nets at the Karnataka Institute of Cricket, a private academy in Alsur, Irfan Said's academy. It's much later that, the BCCI took all of you into their groove, and then you came to the NCA. In fact, I remember when I used to walk into the NCA in the early years, it would just be men. It could be Dilip Venkateswarlu, former India captain, having a word with some of the batters there. And much later, then, the very pleasant sight to see a Julan walking in and discussing the intricacies of fast bowling with Javagal Srinath, right? So how was that in-between phase where you didn't have the exact infrastructure and then it suddenly opened up for you and Julan and that particular generation?
Well, see, when you don't have the basic infrastructure, I think we had a lot of intent and belief. So whatever limited resources we had access to, we were able to make the best out of it. But when you're, have access to National Cricket Academy. For example, in my case, it really helped me a lot to get rehab for my injuries, because when I had a knee injury in 2005, we were not under BCCI. So for those 2 years, I really struggled. I didn't know, where do I go to get proper treatment or the kind of rehab required. And coming under BCCI, then I was pretty regular at NCA. So I was able to find proper physios and SNCs, the strength and conditioning coaches, to work on me, and similar is the case with everybody else. And when we came to NCA, obviously I've seen Rahul play there, or sometimes the other international cricketers. So you have a dialogue with them, you have interaction with them. So I got to learn a lot interacting with them. So that did help me in terms of my skill as well. Whether my interaction with Sachin as well, in the later stages of my career when I've met him, I said that, you've been in the place I've been, so I'm having a pretty much similar difficulty picking the bowler. So he did share a few tips that I worked on, and it helped me to score runs in South Africa. So I think the interactions with the men cricketers greatly helps in, in the exposure that we already have to get better at it.
Shreyanka, so how does it feel to be part of a generation that, where you have a Jemima jiving and, playing the guitar, a lot of characters in the team? How does it be part of a very liberal setup, a team that is bonding and it's just building on the good work that Mithali and Julan did, Shanta and Diana Idilji did? How does it feel?
Firstly, thank you so much for having me here. Coming to the question, obviously Shanta ma'am has laid the foundation. We all know that. And then obviously they had some struggles. They had to kind of face challenges initially, because not all the families were maybe okay to let the girls play, and then followed by Mithali. We know what she has done for the women's cricket as well. When people back then used to talk about Rahul Dravid or Sachin Tendulkar, the big names, but when it comes to women's cricket, Mithali Raj was one big name for us when I initially started my cricket. uh, the impact for us now, which they both have laid, is something which we cannot, I mean, even if we thank, that's not enough, because now we're in a stage where we get everything, the infrastructure, the facilities we're getting, and it's just amazing to be in this space and enjoy what we're getting.
My next question to the three of you is the number of matches women get to play. I mean, it's a very startling statistic. Mithali's played for more than 2 decades. Sachin Tendulkar's played for more than 2 decades. He's played 200 test matches. Mithali got only to play 12 test matches. And she's played a lot of ODIs, she's played a lot of T20 internationals. Does that sometimes, kind of irritate you that you had so much talent, and then you just get to play 12 test matches?
I think yes, when you get to play the purest form of the sport, the test game, and I've hardly played like 12 games, and then I've played a lot more one days. When I made debut, I think the one day format was coming into, and the test match was there but very limited, and then I got to see the T20 as well. So yes, sometimes I feel like I could have played a lot more test matches. But I think it is the growth of women's cricket. I mean, we were all playing a part in that evolution of sport from all test matches, only one format, then there is a 50-over format, now there is a T20 format. But BCCI is trying to revive this format, getting them to play one-off test every bilateral series that India now gets to play at home. But I think there's a lot more happening now in terms of international cricket. You have, the cricket is in Olympics, they get to play Commonwealth Games, Asia Cup. So there's a lot more tournaments, lot more games that the current generation gets to play. But I think everything has its pros and cons. I mean, probably you might not get to see the longevity of players in the current generation, but you probably get good, quality 6-7 years of international cricket. So, that's how probably the sport has also grown. If you ask me, the other day I was having a shoot with Yuvraj Singh, and he said, like, with the current, the rules, probably you would have scored a lot more runs. I said more than runs, I would have probably played a lot more games. I would have loved to play a lot more games in my 2 decades that I've played, because 200 plus in 23 years, that is like just 10 ODIs in a year. And less than that is the test game. So, but I guess I don't have any regrets that I have played less number of games, is because, as I said, I had a role to play in terms of where women's cricket was going in our country, and I'm happy, just honored to be just playing that small role there.
Shanta, what do you think about the scheduling?
To be honest, in only one aspect, I'm better than Mithali. I played more tests than her. But those days, we hardly played the shorter formats. T20 was not there at all. ODI came much later. Forget it. When I was on the BCCI Apex Council, BCCI spoke to Cricket Australia and ECB. And this is what, 3-4 years back, it's only then they agreed that every time India tours those places, or they tour India, one test at least they will play.
Okay.
Earlier it was not there. We tried the same with New Zealand. New Zealand refused to play. We don't have this long format in our country.
Okay.
So there is a lot of resistance worldwide. At least India is far more advanced. I can tell you that, because acceptance here is better than there.
Okay.
Though the common belief will be different. But so the fact that she was ruining, not getting enough chances. Let me tell you, in 76, 77, when I got so much runs, 4 years, nothing.
Okay.
Then 84, we played a test match after 76. Then 86 to 91, nothing. So it happens. We just took it with a pinch of salt. We moved ahead. Mithali was lucky, because by the time she started, Women's Cricket Association was far more stable. Initially under Anuradha Dutt, later on Shubhangi Kulkarni took over, and they got to play quite a few games. It's just that the facilities might not have been as good as now. That's because PCCI has financial resources which we lacked then. But as to the games, I can tell you one thing. I doubt if Shreyanka will ever play a test match, because the onus is now so much on T20 that even host nations may not hold test matches. So, I mean, the concept is changing, and I think the USA factor has also come in. They don't want to give that much time. It's the same everywhere. Just look at the IPL craze, unimaginable. People want entertainment and cricket in one egg. So I personally feel we have to go with the tide.
Shreyanka, what about you? Keen to play a test match?
I think we are the lucky lot because from domestic to the international level, we play a lot of games. Even when it comes to domestic, we have age groups from under 15 to 19 to 23 and seniors, so that's a lot of games. Back then, maybe they didn't have so many games, but now that challenges being introduced, the zonals being introduced, so there are a lot of matches happening for the domestic circuit, as well as when we come to international cricket, there are a lot of series happening. Back then, there were one-odd series, but now it's like the year has been packed. World Cup, then bilateral, tri-series. So there's a lot of cricket happening, white ball, red ball being again coming back. So obviously I would love to play test cricket. Now that there's so much cricket happening and the players have to be ready for it. So it's very nice for us to get so many matches, so we get that experience, so we get to learn a lot of things. So we are kind of lucky.
So you're part of the WPL winning RCB squad 2024 in Delhi. How significant was it for you personally and for the team, as a brand? And did you realize that this particular city went nuts that night? People were just celebrating on the roads, and because there's so much pent-up angst about the fact that the men were not winning the IPL, and they're all fed up of saying "Isala Cup Nam Deyan." So,
I mean, since I was a kid, I've been a die-hard fan of RCB.
You got 4 wickets in that match.
Yes, I did. Against Delhi, I got 4 wickets. And I mean, as I said, since I was a kid, I'm a big fan of RCB. I used to go and sit and watch alone the RCB games in Chinnaswamy Stadium. Whenever they lose, I used to cry. Whenever they win, I used to celebrate as if they won the trophy. That's how I am connected to this team. Yes, when we won the WPL for RCB, and I was like on top of everything, I was like, we did it. Like, that was a happy moment for me personally because I'm very much connected to this franchise, and I was not there in a couple of games because I was injured. I had fractured my finger. So, and also to start off with, first few games in Bangalore, I didn't really start off well. I felt that I disappointed my family, I disappointed the crowd, my fans, in front of my own home crowd. But, you have to just wake up and think that how I can win games for the team I play for. So when I went to Delhi, when I got injured in Bangalore and I went to Delhi, I was like, I have to restart everything. So I can't just go back and say, I didn't do this, I should have done this. So instead of getting the negative thoughts in, I was thinking what I can do better the next game and how I can impact and how I can change the game for my team is what I was constantly thinking. And obviously the management were very supportive. I started from scratch with the mindset, with my technical aspect, everything. And then Malo sir, Smriti, everyone did help me during that time. And from there on, Delhi leg was completely different for me. I got 2-4 against Delhi Capitals. That was a game changer for me and the team as well. And when we won the cup, it was like I was a kid all over again. Yes, my parents were sitting and watching me play in Bangalore itself. They were watching the TV, and they couldn't watch the last phase of the game because the crowd in front of my home was massive. They didn't let them watch the game at all. They're like, just come out, we need to celebrate. the crowd was pretty bad near my house. So that's again a joy for my family because my dad was a cricketer and he wanted me to be a Indian cricketer. He wanted me to play for the Indian team. And me playing for the RCB was also a special moment for him. And when we won, we just celebrated.
Lovely. Mithali, there's a thing about, I mean, men's cricket and women's cricket, women's cricket, and then there was this, they said gender neutral terms, like batter instead of batsman. That move happened from the MCC and the ICC. And then you had the pay parity, you know, when male cricketers and female cricketers in India. But the second part, isn't it a little dicey because all of you don't get to play that many games. It's a match fee, right? The central contract's a completely different ball game. In terms of the money that the men make is much more than what all of you get in terms of contracts. And you're not playing enough match days. Okay, you do play the WPL and stuff like that, but how do you look at this scenario?
The match fees.
Yeah, match fees.
I think that's a great move by BCCI because I feel the girls also play the same number of overs or, you know, in terms of working or putting in their energy, their hard work behind getting their skills up. And, you know, yes, they probably might not play as many games as the men do, but the hard work and the time behind, you know, getting themselves match fit and going out there and playing, I think that was, I mean, I'm completely with that in terms of BCCI making the move of paying them the equal match fees. Because apart from the test match, which is the men have 5 days and we have a 4-day test match, I think otherwise it is the same number of overs. So why should there be a disparity in that?
And about gender neutral terms like batter, I mean, how do you look at that?
I think it's with time, I guess. I mean, when we were playing, it really never made much of a difference to us. We really didn't give it too much thought. But I think how things are at international level and, you know, then ICC and MCC came into picture and wanted to have that. So I feel sports should be looked at, you know, it's for both. You know, it should not be only for men. That has been for the longest time. But when you have women athletes doing very well in different disciplines and celebrating their journey to make an impact in this, just not in the sport that they've pursued, but in society in general. I think for that itself, you know, it's great to have gender neutral terms.
Shanta, in terms of infrastructure, how do you see, I mean, Mithali could answer this later, how do you see Indian cricketing infrastructure for women vis-a-vis the ones you see in England, South Africa, Australia?
Contrary to the general concept, contrary to the belief, India has better infrastructure than most other countries. Cricketing-wise, I think BCCI has done an extraordinary job here. Just a slide. She was talking of equal match fee. I was part of the committee that decided on that. I was in the Apex Council. I said this is just a small drop in the coffers, you know, of BCCI. I'll be happy if you equate women cricketers' match fees for domestic cricket with the men. That, they said, we'll take in due course of time. It hasn't happened, you know. But infrastructure-wise, yes, we are perhaps the leaders, and the new NCA complex near the airport, it's come off very well. And I think with passage of time, a lot of men cricketers in general, and women cricketers in particular will stand to gain a lot because that has all facilities.
Has the WPL really changed the game for all of you in terms of exposure, in terms of rubbing shoulders with international cricketers? Has it made a difference overall? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, she can say.
Absolutely. WPL being introduced, a lot of domestic players are getting the opportunity to play this game with and against the overseas players. That itself is a big learning for us. Me being around Ellis Perry, Smriti Mandana, naming a few more like Megan Shute. I mean, it changed the whole mindset. Like, we get to know them not just on the cricket field, but what they do off the field, be it fitness, be it diet, be it their mental space, what they do when they're low. So these are the conversation I personally love to have, because that's the platform where you can actually learn a lot. Yes, when it comes to cricket, legends like Ellis Perry, Smriti Mandana, I've played with them. So how do you go about the match situation when it's intense, when it's easy go? So those are the things which I personally learned, and WPL has helped a lot of domestic players and youngsters. That's the platform which has given me to play Indian cricket as well. So I was picked from the WPL to the Indian team. So again, a big thanks to BCCI for organizing the WPL.
So how do the three of you look at the road ahead? I mean, is there one change you would want in women's cricket in India? I mean, or something you desire? What would that be, Shanta, in the coming years?
I think if they can play, if can make the girls play as many matches as the men play,
Okay.
that itself will be a big boost for the game. We had to, even now, we don't have as many games. You know, invariably when it comes to women's cricket, budgetary constraints will be spoken of, which is ridiculous considering the bank balance they have. In fact, after 2006, Mr. Sharad Pawar was the president. He had to bulldoze the others to accept to take women's cricket under the wings of BCCI. When I was the chairman of the selection committee, Mr. Anurag Thakur became the president. It was then that I said, we are not given central contract. So he took a note from me and passed it, though it's lesser amount. Just to make these two understand, I know Mithali is the connection, so she will know. I never earned a single pie in my entire cricketing career. It's only after I retired, and because COA came into power, the court, that's when they started giving for all those who played for India, and then later on, Mr. Ram was in the committee which decided the Lifetime Achievement Award. I was the first one to get it. It's only during the COA time. After that, it's been good. In fact, they are, I would say, women's cricket friendly, the committees which came later. But earlier, maybe, you know, they had jaundiced eyes. That's all I can say.
Mithali, the road ahead?
Well, I think the road ahead is pretty bright, and it's only going to go up. The graph is only going to go up because, of course, the number of games that Shantha has spoken that, you know, if they get to play, but getting to represent India in Commonwealth or Afro-Asia Cup or Asia Cup, and now the Olympics, cricket is into Olympics, so the girls get to play on the highest level, the biggest stage. Nothing yet bigger than that. And just that, you know, the way the girls get to prepare for these big events. And as she rightly said, even the domestic, yes, in terms of the games, they now do have a day's game, I believe. But if they can get many more games in the domestic circuit, because if you're going to revive a format like a day's game, you need to give the girls a go with the red ball in the domestic circuit as well. And for the domestic players, I think if the remuneration can be better, because now a lot of girls, with the success stories coming out of Women's Premier League, there are a lot of communities and families which earlier discouraged girls from taking up sport, now are open to it. It is a more viable sport, and more there is a lot of professionalism to it. So you would want to increase the pool of players. You want to give them better facilities, even at the grassroots level, especially in the districts, because now I'm associated with Andhra. So I get to see a lot more players from the districts, from literally the internal, like the rural areas. We could do better in those places, setting up resources or infrastructure so that we can unearth a lot more talent than what we get to see in the cities. So I think that would be one change I would like to see.
Shreyanka?
I mean, adding to what both of them said, when we played the previous World Cup, I think the preparation I mean, obviously we play a lot of matches under lights now, so we didn't really get an opportunity to play under lights before we head into the World Cup. So those are the small things which, I mean, it's kind of, if we can get that, nothing like it, but that's one change, the small change I would love to add on.
I would probably digress here. Mithali, I mean, it's a lazy trope that all of us, including me, have used when we do a feature on you, that you're a Bharatanatyam dancer, and therefore we'll conveniently say it maybe it helps the footwork. Does it help your footwork while playing shots and as a batter?
Well, it definitely did help me in the initial stages when I just started playing cricket, because dance was weekends, like Saturday, Sunday, and the entire week would go into training cricket. So in a way, it also helped my fitness because the endurance part, it looked after that side of it. It did help me into understanding how I should work on my cricket, because there are two different skills, two different things altogether. And in today's time, you speak to a lot of SNCs, a lot of coaches, they say that, you should not be only learning one sport. If you can learn another sport, it helps greatly in you absorbing how you can develop your current skill. So in terms of understanding my game or absorbing things, I think dance in a way did really help me in those first 5-6 years of my career.
Shanta, you always spoke in your mind. I mean, so when you look back, over your career, the fact, in fact, I was there at the function when you got the Lifetime Achievement Award. You were overwhelmed, your entire family was there, big group picture was taken. Do you think it's a job well done? The fact that you carved a path for all of them, the future generations, how do you look at it?
I said it maybe a little differently earlier, but I can say one thing. No one, just no one can take away that feeling that we laid the foundation. And I think that is a very satisfying feeling. And fortunately, I was decently educated, got a good job, came up the ranks there. So financially, I was never dependent on cricket. Otherwise, I would have been a misfit because I got nothing. But the fact that the satisfaction that you see, I told you earlier, Mithali and Julian couldn't have been there but for us.
Yeah.
I mean, not to take away the credit from them. They are highly talented. The fact is we lay the foundation. That is beyond anything.
Yeah. Thanks for this lovely chat. Excellent. I think we'll throw the floor open for some questions. Mr. Ram, mic to him, please.
Since Shanta has mentioned how the first C.K. Naidu Lifetime Achievement Award was created for women, I thought I could let out a secret to the other two, if they don't know it, as well as to the audience. Going back to what Shanta said, when you make such demands on the BCCI, they'll say, in due course, we're examining it. Bureaucrats do that all the time. Parkalam in Tamil. And this went on. That year, the BCCI, in 2017, right? BCCI was embroiled in its internal problems, struggles. It had its eye off the ball. So Ram Guha called me and said, let's give it to the women this year, the same amount, 25 lakhs, right? And give this award. It's also the prestige. They would have probably given 5 lakhs if it had been left to the BCCI at that time. So he said, of course, I think Diana was the other member, and she didn't have any objection, obviously. So that's how the first award was given, long overdue, to Shantha Rangaswamy. The second person we chose, that was a tricky situation, was Diana Edulji. She was involved with the BCCI in another capacity. And
conflict of interest. Conflict of interest?
Yeah, conflicts of interest can be resolved. Conflict of interest doesn't mean it's a bar completely. You've got to, as in a board meeting, that person doesn't participate. and so on. So there could be a perceived conflict of interest which can be resolved. And we consulted the BCCI person in charge and kept Diana out of the decision and decided to give it to her, but the social pressure was so much that she turned it down. So you'll find no awardee for 2018. After that, I lost track because, so that's the story of the award. And I think I would give primary credit to Ram Guha, who's not here, I think, today for that decision. It was a strategic decision, but you should know it. I'm sure all of, you already got it? Not yet.
The saddest part is Diana still hasn't got it.
Yeah. Sure, she missed her chance. Huh? We advised her that there's a perceived conflict of interest, but you are not involved in a conflict of interest because you have had no role in this. And we had consulted the BCCI in advance. I won't mention the name of the person we consulted, but he was the authority. And so on. She won't get it unless they make a change. And there's a long queue. The four Indian spinners, the quartet was given together 1 year, because otherwise it would have taken 4 years. So anyway.
Well then, thank you for that, but isn't that an afterthought that, just because the men were embroiled in something, then you had to jump into the women to give a women cricketer a CK Naidu trophy? Wasn't that should be the criteria much before? We shouldn't be waiting for something like that to happen, then your focus is shifted to the women to give them a trophy.
So the lesson is you got to fight for it.
Still have to keep fighting for it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we need to get more Guhas and Rams.
Any other question? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Siri. My question is to Mithali ji. You have broken so many barriers and inspired a generation. What does no boundaries personally mean to you? And what still needs to change for the coming generation of girls in Indian cricket to play fearlessly?
I think no boundaries is the fact that I've never seen a glass ceiling over my head. I never seen that. You don't restrict your own self because you don't have an example in front of you. And in saying that, I would say that I've never seen any boundaries around me. Again, because I couldn't see the boundaries is a huge, the reason is for pioneers like Shanta, Diana, Sandhya Agarwal, because growing up, we didn't really see women's cricket on television or hardly read about it in the papers. But when I graduated into playing senior level, that's when I was educated by my senior about them. So I'm sure in today's time, many young cricketers, like how we get to know the history of men's cricket, I think it's very important that they get to know the history of women's cricket. There is no, there's no way that we get to listen about the stories.
There's a book by Karunya Keshav, right?
Well, how many books are there on men's cricket?
Just one book.
Over women's cricket, there's just one book.
Yes.
When it comes to the skill aspect, I think the girls are doing very well. It's just that to play fearless, I think the mindset not necessarily have to be only when you get into a tournament. That is built when you're in training, when you're playing a lot of bilateral series, when you try and push beyond what you've achieved in the past. That's when you develop the mindset to compete. And they are doing that. I mean, absolutely not that they're not. But the World Cups always get its own pressure. No amount of training that you do, you still feel the butterflies when you play your first game in the World Cup. But I think having seen the girls, and right now they're playing the tri-series in Sri Lanka, they are doing really well. This year we have the ODI World Cup at home, so just fingers crossed that they do really well in the World Cup.
One last question. My college mate Manu Joseph.
Yeah, hi. The question is for Mithali. What advice did Sachin Tendulkar give you that helped your batting? And please be as technical as possible.
Well, I think at that point of time I was finding a little difficult to pick fast bowlers. This was before the South Africa series. I was I was still playing the T20 format as well. So I met him in Mumbai and I spoke to him. I said, I find it a little difficult to pick the bowlers now. So because, you know, when you're into your mid-30s, a lot of people talk about the slowing down of your footwork. And he told me, like, why don't you train from 18 yards? Usually we play for 22 yards. Why don't you cut that short and play your fast bowlers from there so it gets easier when you're playing 22 yards? He did that. He said, why don't you give it a try? So I did. And surprisingly, in South Africa, in the T20 format, I got the Women of the Series. So I just texted him saying, thank you for the, helping me out with that. Yeah.
Thank you very much. This is a wonderful conversation. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.